So, hi everyone. Welcome to the iSpring webinar series where every week we talk about e-learning trends, share iSpring tips and tricks, and cover clients' cases. My name is Nadia. I'm a community manager at iSpring, and I will be the moderator for today's session. And today we're gonna cover a very interesting topic. We will say about how to avoid mistakes when working with difficult clients. And to do that, I've invited our senior course developer at iSpring, Anna.
Hi Nadia. Thank you for having me. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. And how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
And at this point, I'm more than ready to pass the mic over to you, Anna, to start the presentation.
Okay, awesome. So give me just a moment. I'll turn on my camera. Okay, so hello everyone. I'm so excited to see you today at our webinar. My name is Anna. I'm an instructional designer at iSpring and will be presented for you today. We are going to talk about how to work with difficult clients. So during the webinar, we will discuss how to avoid mistakes when communicating with clients, avoid having to constantly make changes to your work, make working with clients more effective. I will be addressing four major stages in working with clients, but today I would like to cover only the first stage because our webinar is limited to 1 hour. And if we dive into all four stages at once today, it will take so much time, but can be compared to completing an online course. So let me just name those four stages. So the first stage is negotiation with a client. During this stage, you need to learn more about your client, understand what our client's goal is, and then establish a joint vision of the result. The second stage involves design and resource preparation. So we need to prepare frameworks and do an analysis of working conditions with the content that we are creating. The third stage is creation of a course. So this is the phase where we create a course. At this stage, the customer invincibly becomes involved in the course creation at the expert level for sure. Or the client evaluates and comments on drafts. And the fourth stage is summing up. This involves reviewing and evaluating the success of the course. So today we will focus in detail on the first stage. Let's see on our next slide how this usually works and what the issue it can involve. So on this slide, you can see the process of working with customers. So usually the chain looks like this. We have customers who urgently need to train employees. And then we have employees who urgently need to take courses. Then we have a course, but we created quickly because the customer needed it as soon as possible. So this course was assigned to an employees and they started to take it right away. Now, let's imagine that we attended a conference or a meeting where we meet each other and find out what a certain number of people, let's say a million, a billion, or just 1,000, have been served by using the digital learning this year. And as a result, there are business results, which in most cases we are not aware of. We don't know how digital learning has changed these business results because so many employees have passed these courses. So, unfortunately, such a picture can occur in any company. Such stories can be found in large corporations, but they can also happen in companies where training specialists work very closely with the business and employees. So, by this, I mean that they can literally just reach out to customer just by taking a couple of steps, and they can even collect feedback from students like one-on-one sessions. So if you don't mind, I will give you like a little advice that helped me a lot. So and it will be like kind of obvious, but the first piece is to make your clients a priority. So this is like if there are no clients, there will be no business, but then you're just starting creating an online course. They're just starting to be an instructional designer or like e-learning developer. I would like to recommend to find a client who will be very involved in the creation of the course. So it will help you in the future to have a portfolio and to find the right companies who can really benefit from your courses. So it seems to me that in the first stage, it's important to devote efforts to working with customers who are involved in the process of course creation, as I mentioned. So, and they're ready to invest their expertise and personal time. But, oops, sorry. So let's go to the first one. Okay, so this is very important to find person and the client who will be involved. So why? Because with such customers, you can create the best e-learning content that he will be able to use as a reference. So I'm not just talking about some kind of selfish sense of create a good portfolio for yourself and then find a better job. I mean that these past courses that he will create with more involved customers, he will be able to show them to less involved customers and show these courses as a kind of role model. So these courses will become a point of reference for you that you will always rely. But you will always rely on for future requests from new clients. You will be able to explain to other customers in a reasoned way that the such an investment of their efforts and investment of time in creating a course, they will get such a result. So because we talk with a customer about resources, for example, but it will take us months to create a script, or we will need meetings with experts, or we need a separate design trip to the office to communicate with employees. Customers do not always believe in the necessity of these resources. And in some, they have a right to do so because they're not such an expert. And of course, by having this experience, you can always like make them sure that it will be for the best, and with just by using those resources, you will do the best course ever. So I believe that a client and instructional designer needs to work as partners. And let me identify 5 signs of an effective partnership. So the first one is focus on business needs. So what does this mean? You need to think about how any slight topic which you covered in your course will influence on business. Is this really necessary to cover these in that course or not? You should always remember about that. Or let's say there can be some kind of situations if you have more than one SME, subject matter expert, and they can usually give you different expertise on one topic related to your course. So if you're not very familiar with the topic, that might seem like kind of obvious for you, and their arguments are very good, but you need to find out which information is correct. So what do you need to do in this situation? You need to still think about business needs in this case, because if you have to there's a kind of conflict between two experts. Sometimes we start to think about our career and with whom we need to talk more. Um, so In this case, I believe this question is more about professional ethics, but everyone can decide which decision to make. That's totally fine. But I want to encourage you to remember about business needs and to be focused on high quality content for people. So if this situation comes up, you can go to the manager, to experts manager, and find out this whom event you will be working with and what information is correct. Okay, so let's go um, to the next slide. So second sign about partnership is focus on what is important for people. Business is always great, but for sure we need to be focused on people. This suggests that every time you don't know how to solve a difficult educational task, you can try asking people about this. You're more than welcome to contact with your learners to hear their opinion. I don't mean, please don't get me wrong. I don't mean that you need to run a huge survey every time, make benchmarks, and assemble a focus group. No one will allow you to do that because you can take employees away from their workloads so often. But you can always talk to someone one on one, conduct some kind of interview with those employees who regularly take your courses to find out why they take them, what they like in your courses, what they think could be better, could be improved. So you can also talk to those um, employees who's never taken courses but have worked at company for a long time and do it pretty successfully. So if these people help with their work successfully without any training, then apparently they either have a special skill of some kind or they understand how they can get knowledge without your help. So it means that you can learn something from them, or, for example, collect some best practices from them that you can use, or maybe use them as a subject matter expert. So the third sign is talking in the language of value and result. Sometimes clients ask to create a course because they want it or it's urgent. But as a rule, such courses don't change anything in the business process and don't bring any additional value to you and your business. So focus on thinking in terms of what changes the company's work process. So you always need to think about this first too. The first step is everyone is responsible for what they are best at. So look to see what all the best aspects of your clients are because it will give you maximum value. So what does this mean? For example, if I have a customer who's very photogenic and they have a certain degree of recognition in the company, I will use them in my course. I will do everything possible to write a script for them because they can be figured on a universal scale in this course. And of course, it attracts employees' attention and generates acceptance. So if you have a star in your company, you're most welcome to allow them to be participant of your course. Let's say create a video narration or add them as a character in the dialogue simulation. Conversely, if you have an expert who prepare amazing content but is camera shy, I will take this content and find someone who isn't afraid to be photographed or videotaped and take advantage of everyone's best sides. And your client and experts that are involved will be grateful to you and give you optimal preparation. And the fifth sign is say no when efforts are not productive. So I'm not sure if I need to explain it anyhow, but if you can find out that this doesn't help or your learners are not taking the course, you're most welcome to say no to the system or to the course. So I agree with this principle so far. Please let us know in the chat. So do you think it will work? The signs of partnership with your client. So if you want, you can just send a plus and we will move on. Okay, awesome. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for your feedback. So happy to hear that. So, well, where should you start forming in your approach to communication in order to follow all these principles? So, the first point is specifics of the business. So, for example, the best approach regarding negotiations will be realized by the person who has seen the negotiation with their own eyes, understand what they are about and what subtleties and nuances they can have. So, it means that you can have this person as a subject matter expert, so he will give like a final review for your course. The second point, find out how the business that you're creating content for, how it survives. So what are they proud of? Uh, Learn more about their corporate culture. If there are any specific details you need to know about the company. So you will hear a lot of useful things because often the subject matter experts who provide you with the content are aware of all of this, but they don't write it down during the brief period when they're helping you create your content. So don't hesitate to make notes. Briefings may simply not be enough sometimes. So you need to see with your own eyes how the skills that you're going to teach and employ work in your company. For example, if this is a course about specific software, and let's say you're creating a course on how to work in iSpring Suite, then you need to open the software, get trial access to it, and dig into it. Also, if you want, you can contact, let's say, iSpring technical support and find out how to do it in the right way. Is it possible to do it via email, via chat? So you can just dig into this, try into this, and try to use this product, this software that you would like to use to learn about. So try to use it in the same exact way as your learners will do. If this is a course on cybersecurity, then think about how to develop it and adapt it for your company, for your work, just because different companies may have different cyber security rules, so you can easily adapt them. Also, in the courses like that, you need to think about what mistakes employees usually make and try to make these mistakes yourself to see what error message you will get or how it will not be very convenient when you turn off your antivirus and get a virus. Do not recommend. So, you will learn about the consequences and explain all of this in the course so users will better understand it. And this can apply to any course. The third point is to attend key meetings and follow the news of your company. So you have to have some amount of connection with that area of business to you. So you should not be like contacting or belonging with someone who is sitting somewhere with HR just counting money and so on. So companies, your colleagues should understand what you about business too. You need to understand how the company is growing. What point is the company is at now, and what company's goal, how we can do that. So that should be you should be aware of this too. So the next point is be proactive. Here I want to say that you need to share some new solutions and ideas. Uh, this is your manager, this is your company, these your clients. So tell more about new trends or best practices from other companies. Let's say there are a lot of videos on YouTube and a lot of different courses, let's say on Coursera. So you're most welcome to join. Also, one more important point that I want to cover here. For sure, you're most welcome to join and attend conferences about e-learning. So, for example, we will have iSpring Today conference in November. So it will be online, so you're most welcome to join it. And finally, it is important to get some data from businesses about how the behavior of employees has changed after taking courses. So, talk to businesses in the language of numbers and benefits. That's definitely what will work for business. For example, if it was a training on how to talk with customers over the phone, find out from the business side what results they have after this course. So you can ask for statistics on the conversion to find out if there was any improvement or not. In this way, you can understand whether this course was worth it or how much money it brings to the business. So we can speak in this language to you. Um, I totally understand that not everything can be measured, but if you can do that, that will be awesome because it quantifies the effectiveness of the course you created, and you can show it to your manager and see and tell like, see, that's awesome. It saves our some money. Now let's talk about the environment in terms of business. You're in slightly different relationships with different groups of people, and and you are in their circles of influences. Therefore, be proactive and do not lose communication with everyone you're connected with. Also, you can involve different groups to your projects in order to solve different tasks. If you have a difficult relationship with a subject matter expert, that can be um, very often, show them some feedback from employees. You can show some reviews and explain to the experts what the employees are grateful and what the subject matter experts are providing them with real benefits. Because adults, they need to know benefits before they're taking this course. They cannot just learn the course because you told them so. And then you can show the same results for subject matter experts, so they will know that it's all worth it. After all, experts are often a little too disconnected from what they influence it, and the corporate client asks the expert to provide some content and just assign it to trainees to take the course and pass it. At the same time, subject matter experts may have influenced the quality of the work of hundreds and thousands of people, and no one has measured these numbers. So, subject matter experts also want to know how many people have been trained there, what changed after the training, and what they could do better. Very often, for example, in the sales segment, the manager of an area informs the training manager that they're seeing problems with the sale of a particular product. The product is new, the employees are not trained and new to you, and so it's necessary to do some kind of training. So, for some reason, the manager ignores or does not include in the outline of this task their own need to motivate their employees to take training. In other words, they launch a training on an administrative level. So, it is important to talk um, about how your client can influence the effectiveness of training. So, kind of motivate them. Okay, and if you're talking about subject matter experts, come on, we all love to hear how awesome we are and what we do, but we help a lot of people. And your subject matter expert can definitely do that. So you're most welcome to share some piece of reviews. Um, okay, on the slide right now, you can see like a brief checklist. It is better to learn as much as possible about clients' training request than to get a formal like brief. There is such an experience of sending out briefings in Word document format, then the client fill in the fields and answers your questions. However, very often they're filled out incompletely or the responses can be unclear and you will have to call the customer to find out what they meant to say. So that's fine. If you have a couple of call or meetings after your client uh, filled in the brief, that's totally fine. Nevertheless, such briefs has a slight advantage. They make the customer organize themselves just a little and makes them think about their request. So I will use such a format, but I will divide such a brief into two types. The first one is very short, just a couple of questions. Something like, who are we going to teach? What are we going to teach? And why do we need them to teach that? In this case, our client can think about whether the risk course um, that they want to create is really necessary for the business. And the second type, um, after that, I would like to send a second brief after a face to face interview, during which I can describe the details a little more precisely. This brief will be for your own record so you can confirm everything that you discussed with your client. And I have one more piece of advice, if you don't mind. It is important to ask open questions at the start of the discussion. It's necessary to get talking to the client and find out what exactly they the problem is, what Taza would like to solve, what results and benefits they expect after your training. Within the framework of the customer's brief, your task is to get to their true intentions, including finding out if the customer simply wants to close a quarterly or annual goals with this course. If, for example, they want a bonus from their supervisor, or maybe promise a course to someone. It might be what they just want to spend the company's money, or they might be mistaken and by describing a problem related to training, they can talk about problems related to employee motivation. But they actually don't want to solve problems related to motivation. They really want to do e-learning content. So you need to get to the true intentions, the actual problems of the business, and resolve them. That is why it is an important task to ask questions about requirements, management, and results. So, so let's say we have customer A. There is an expected result, which is B, the result of the business. And we analyze the reason for this gap between A and B, what is missing, and whether or not this area of responsibility is ours. If we should do that or other people should do that. If we understand that there is no problem at all or it is insignificant, we can lower its priority. Or to single out one of the groups of reasons for the gap, we determine that these are actually problems related to skills and abilities and not related to, let's say, motivation. And we can resolve this. But if, for instance, they see that it is connected with something else, let's say motivation, once again, They must convey a vision to the customer, to the client, to your manager. From an analysis of the problem and the brief, they understand what the business has the following goals. You need to reduce or change or improve the results of or the quality of something. Business goals can be reduce, increase, change, and adapt. For example, um, reduce the number of days it takes new hires to reach productivity or increase income. And then we say what we can solve is by setting the following training goals. Training goals or learning objectives can be: leaders understand the value of feedback at work. Employees are convinced that it is necessary to speak with customers correctly. Employees are able to write letters according to company standards, and many others. So let's take an example. A business wants to reduce the number of negative ratings from customers in a call center. And we can achieve this through the following learning goals. Employees should learn about cases that can occur during the call in this call center. Then, employees should get an opportunity to practice solving them. Then, employees should then go through some kind of knowledge verification procedure, or let's say taking a final test, and this will lead to achieving the business goal. All right, so now let's say you have done all this work and have understood what kind of customer you're dealing with. You explain to them who you are and what you can do. You heard why they came to you in the first place, what their intention was. After that, you did some work on immersion into a QWERTY. You collected information about who and what you will teach and why you are going to teach them. After all of that, what deadlines and technical limitations, opportunities, and resources do you have? You have received maximum information from your client, and after that, you're preparing a draft design of e learning content, but you will allow to achieve the business goal. And then you conduct a meeting, there you agree with your client on how you will work further. At this meeting, you fix the agreement from which ideally it will be better not to retreat from later on. Often, businesses willingly agree to propose project, thinking that we will all sort things out later if it's needed. We will look at the layout and we'll cut something later if needed, and so on. But it takes time to develop all of this. Therefore, I believe it is important at this meeting, besides using a draft structure, to seriously discuss what will happen if the client doesn't adhere to this agreement. For example, abandoning the format chosen during the meeting or replacing it will delay the launch of the project for an extra month. Refusing to charge the corporate identity in the process, or either after receiving a draft of a course, will postpone the launch of the project for 3 weeks. But you have other project planned for those 3 weeks, right? So you have to present the client with a framework within which they can have to accept the sticks to you. And the client doesn't have enough time to define this at the moment, and they need more information. Ask how much information and time they need to reschedule this meeting. But most importantly, get acceptance from them that yes, they want to go in this direction. I really think it's better to prepare and allow more time at the design stage of the course then to finalize it there, make changes, make amendments, or even completely abandon the course later. And if you do all this work, you will also help the client. They also don't really want to come to you often, these edits while working on the course. There are, of course, those who want to, like, some kind of love to do it. Many have a feeling, but if they don't send you any edits, they will look incompetent, not like an expert, and like they they're not involved in the process at all. And if the client will say everything is okay, then you will think that they are not professional and that they didn't even knew your course. So that's all, like, from person to person. The more you discuss at the start, the easier it will be later. So that's probably all I wanted to say to you today, because what happens next is can be the easiest or um, the most difficult part if something was not done before that. And actually, and if you're talking about iSpring, one of the very hard, difficult parts is to find the perfect authoring tool for creating the best e-learning content. And Nadia will share a guide with you on how to choose the right authoring tool. So you're most welcome to take a look at this so you can quickly download it if needed. Uh, Also, I need to mention that you can create your courses in iSpring Suite, which is a PowerPoint add-in. And by the way, if you're working as a freelancer, we have a special plan for freelancers, so you can give it a try. It gives you up to 30% discount.
Thank you so much, Anne, for this wonderful presentation. Yes, guys, there are a great news. Later this month, we introduced a new special pricing plan for freelancers, and now freelance instructional designers can get iSprint Suite Basic for just $419 instead of $770, and iSprint Suite Max for $690 instead of $970. So this way they get the same awesome features but save hundreds. Thank you so much everyone for coming today and spending that valuable hour with us. Thank you, Anna, for this wonderful presentation, and goodbye.